So you already know how to make this adorable pet collar. Today I'm going to do a little add-on video and show you exactly how I change the color of yarn with each row. For anyone who doesn't know how to make this collar and needs the pattern, don't worry, I have a full tutorial video on this and I'll put the link to that in the description of this video. So go check that out because I'm not going to be doing the full pattern again today. I'm just going to show you the end of each row when I change out the colors. I'm going to show you two methods of how I change colors. They work great for this collar or any of my future collars, or honestly any kind of project where you work in rows. Hopefully this video will be universal and kind of like easy to follow, but I guess we'll see. I want to add, don't forget, if you are dressing your pet in cute accessories, make sure they're supervised while they're wearing them for their safety. And then one last thing I want to add, I don't know if you already noticed, but I brought a little bit of Wrigley with me today. Not the hair I'm usually covered with, but I don't know if you noticed this, some lovely new artwork. He's a sweet boy, but sometimes we find out too late that his nails need a snip. So just ignore that. The show must go on. All right, let's get started. Oops, it's actually like a month later now. I have to refilm this because I messed up the first time and I have new cuts on my hands, not cat related, but this one got a band-aid. Not important though. These are the three colors I'll be using for our tutorial. So you can see in our collar, we have 3 different colors. So we'll do 2 different color changes at row 2 and row 3. And I'm gonna show you 2 different ways to do it. So the first one is at the end of row 1, we're gonna do a mid-stitch color change. And then at the end of row 2, we're gonna fasten off and change colors. You don't need to do both ways. You can do whichever one you prefer. I just always do it differently, so I just figured I'd show you both. Also, I'm gonna show you how to crochet your loose ends into the piece because I hate sewing them back in. So it's my least favorite thing to do. Okay, let's get started. So I have my little collar. Obviously it's not big enough for a real cat, but we don't need a full collar to show you how I change my colors. So almost done with row 1, which is this green row right here. And it's all treble crochets into each stitch. So I have one last treble crochet to do, but we're gonna be switching colors in the middle of that stitch. So I'm gonna get my yellow yarn ready. So I'm gonna grab the blue yarn again, just working with it as normal, and we're gonna start our last treble crochet into that last chain, and we're not gonna finish it though. I'll show you where to stop. So yarn over twice, and then into the last chain, yarn over, pull through, and now we have 4 loops on our hook. So to keep going with the treble crochet, I yarn over through the first 2 loops and pull through. Now we have 3 loops on our hook. Gonna yarn over again through the next 2. And then to finish this stitch, we would yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. But before we do that, we're gonna switch the color. So I'm gonna put the blue down, but I'm gonna kind of like hold it because it can get kind of loose. And then I'm gonna grab the yellow yarn and kind of set it up on my hand to start working with it. It's nice to leave this tail a little bit longer for later when you're sewing or crocheting it in. So keep that in mind. Sometimes I make it too short. Okay, so now I have my yellow yarn ready to go. And I'm just gonna kind of switch hands here to kind of hold the blue with this hand now. So I can use this hand to crochet. And then I'm gonna yarn over and pull the yellow through. And now we have the yellow yarn on our hook, but we still have the blue that's kind of just loose and hanging on here. What I like to do is kind of start the next row, just one part of it, the beginning of it. So for this pattern, it calls for a chain 4. So I'm gonna chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm gonna pull this big so I can take my hook out and then kind of deal with these 2 loose ends down here. And I'm gonna go ahead and just cut the blue. And then I'm gonna take these 2 ends and just tie them together. Maybe 2 knots, just to make it a little bit more secure. So now you can see we have a clean transition from the end of our treble crochet with the blue to the start of our chain 4 with the yellow. The reason that we switch colors in the middle of a stitch is to give it this like seamless transition, and it's great because you can use that method in the middle of rows and it will just look like you're crocheting as normal. If we had finished the treble crochet and then switched the colors, this first chain right here would be blue. And honestly, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I kind of do it like that anyways all the time because it's a little bit easier. But that's only because we're working at an end. That wouldn't really flow as well in the middle of a row. But I just thought I should explain that to you. Okay, so now we need to start row 2, and we have our chain 4, and now we're gonna turn. So like I said, I'm gonna show you how we crochet these pieces back into the piece so we don't have to sew them in later because I hate that. And normally I would crochet them both back into the piece, but I'm only gonna do this blue one this time and skip this yellow one, only because of this pattern, and let me explain why. So row 2 requires us to skip a stitch each time, so we'll work into this one, skip this one, work into this one, skip that one, and it will create these gaps and it will really show the yellow string. If I was working into each stitch like normal, it would just completely cover it up and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But for this pattern, it would show. Another thing to think about too, and hopefully I'm not confusing you too much, but when you do crochet loose ends into the piece, you can do it backwards, and I do it backwards, but I think that's too complicated to show you. But you're usually holding it behind the piece while you're working. And right now, this is the back side. So that would be showing on the front side, which would not look good. Here is the other one, and you can kind of see, I didn't really follow my own instructions right here. Where is it? So here is the loose end. It was way too short, like I talked about before, so it's kind of coming out right now. But you can kind of see it, like, I'll push that back. Right here, you can see the blue lines, and it would go all the way down in these gaps and show through. It looks a little bit better when it's like clean with these green gaps right here versus the blue showing. And this is also DK weight yarn, so I don't think it would show as much as it would on this one, so we're definitely skipping the yellow, and you can just sew that in later. So pick up my piece, we're working this way down the chain into row 2, and I'm leaving this yellow one out. I'm gonna take this blue end right here. It's confusing because there's 2. So I'm gonna take that blue end that we just cut, and I'm gonna take it and hold it over here on this side, the back side. And I'm just gonna bring it parallel to the stitches so it's right next to them. And then just kind of hold it there. Need to fix my yellow yarn. Okay, there we go. Okay, so row 2 has us starting with a treble crochet into that first stitch right there. So I'm gonna yarn over twice, and then I'm gonna go into that stitch and make sure that this loose end right here is over the hook. Yarn over, pull through. I'm pulling the yellow yarn under that loose end and through the stitch. And then I'm gonna finish my treble crochet. Now you can see that this is kind of looped in around that crochet we just made. So it's kind of holding it in there with the rest of our piece. Now I'm gonna do the next stitch of the pattern. So we're gonna skip that next stitch right here, and then I'm gonna work into the following one. And we're gonna do 2 treble crochets. So make sure this end piece is still parallel to your stitches and hold it right there. I'm skipping this stitch right here and doing 2 treble crochets into the next one. So yarn over twice, into that next stitch. Oops, the yarn's under the hook. I wanna make sure that yarn stays over the hook and next to that stitch. Yarn over to the yellow and pull it through the stitch and under our loose end. And then finish the treble crochet. Let me show you one more time and finish this stitch right here. So we're doing another treble crochet into the same spot. Yarn over pull through. So this is over my hook. Yarn over, pull the yellow under that loose end and through the stitch, and finish a treble crochet. So now you can see this loose end is being brought down our piece with us. I would make sure you do at least, normally when I do every single stitch, I try to do at least 10 covering it. I don't know if it's a little different for this one, but you can just keep going for as long as it is, and then you can cut off any extra piece that pokes out. So I'm gonna keep going, skipping a stitch, working into the next one with my treble crochet, making sure this tail end stays over my hook, grabbing the yellow yarn, pulling it under the tail end and through the stitch, and finishing the treble crochet. But I'm gonna finish this row and I'll see you at the end of it. So I've just finished row 2, fully completed it. Let me show you how it looks. So now you can see my loose end right here, and I'm just gonna trim it. It's not the perfect method because we're doing every other stitch, so you see these gaps and it could easily slip out. It would be more secure to like sew it in afterwards. But like I said, I hate doing it, so avoid it when I can. It's not that big of a deal, it's a pet collar. Don't tell Wrigley I said that. Okay, so I've just finished row 2, like I said, and now I'm gonna fully finish it off. So I'm gonna do a slip stitch just for security, and then I'm gonna cut my yarn. Because we're doing the new way, the second way how to do it. So now I'm gonna turn my work because we are gonna keep working. We're gonna do row 3 going this way. So make sure you do that. And now let me get my next color. So we're gonna be using purple, mauve, I don't know, whatever. And I'm gonna start by making a slip knot. So I'm gonna hold the yarn like I normally do when I'm working, and I stick out my pointer finger. I'm gonna yarn over, wrap the yarn around my pointer finger. So I have 2 lines and I hold it down here. I'm gonna grab this back one right here, pull it over the front loop. Whoa, it's sliding. Now the front loop is the back loop right here. And I'm gonna pick that up and pull it over and off my finger. And then I have a little slip knot that I can stick on my hook, except I'm actually not gonna do that yet because we have to put the hook back where we were. Where were we? So now that we have our slip knot, we need to attach our next color onto our piece for row 3. Normally to start row 3, we would finish row 2 and chain 1 and turn, but we're gonna skip that chain 1. The chain 1 would technically bring us out right here, and we would be working out of this first stitch. However, row 3 is kind of unique because we're not working out of these like normal stitches at the top. We're working into the spaces in between these V's right here. So instead of trying to match the original pattern where we would attach the yarn right here, and it would kind of mimic the chain 1, you can still do that, but we're just gonna jump ahead and work right into this V right here, because it'll just give us a little bit of a cleaner look. So to do this, I'll start over. You want to take your hook and put it through that V space right here. And then now we're gonna attach the slip knot onto the hook and like pull it tight. I'm gonna grab my working yarn and kind of bring the slip knot up to the top. And then I'm gonna pull it through that space and then do a slip stitch. Now the yarn is attached. I'm also gonna pull the end of this yarn to kind of like make sure that's the purple yarn we just added is all like tight and attached. But there we go. Now we have these 2 loose ends, and this time I'm actually gonna crochet over both of them. It isn't same thing as before, it's not like the perfect way to go about it because there will be a little bit of gaps and you will see them, but different than last time, this is the back side, so I don't really care as much of how it looks. It won't show as much on the front. So let me show you how that looks. Okay, so just like before, I have my 2 loose ends, and I'm gonna, well, 2 this time, hold them parallel to the stitches right here. I'm gonna fix this. Okay. Now the first stitch of the round is a single crochet into that space, so we're gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go through this space, make sure that these 2 loose ends are over the hook. I'm gonna yarn over and pull it through underneath those loose ends and through the loop, and then finish my single crochet. Now you might need to adjust it a little bit. I feel like there we go. Now the next stitch for row 3 is a treble crochet into that next space. So I'm gonna make sure that these 2 ends are lined up. I'm gonna yarn over twice for a treble crochet, and then into that space underneath these 2 loose ends, yarn over, pull through, and then I'm gonna finish my treble crochet. So that's 1 treble crochet into that space, and I need to do a total of 6, so let me do another one. I'm gonna go into that space, make sure these 2 ends are over my hook. I'm gonna grab this yarn, pull it under and through. Okay, that's 2. Now I'm gonna finish the 6, but I'm gonna speed up, so just hold on. Okay, there we go. We have 6 treble crochets into that space. Let me show you what the back side looks like. So here's our 2 loose ends. You can kind of see the gap here, but you can barely see that purple. So it doesn't even look that bad, but you can see they're being covered up as we crochet. So our next stitch is a slip stitch into the following V. I'm gonna work over these again. So I'm gonna put my hook through that V space. Make sure that these 2 are on top of my hook, parallel to the stitches. Yarn over, pull it through, yarn over, pull it through and under everything. Oh, and it's a slip stitch, so I just pull it all the way through the stitch. Now I'm gonna start the one after that too, which is gonna be the same thing as here, a treble crochet, well 6 treble crochets into this space, center it, have these over the hook, yarn over, pull through, I'll do one more quickly, but I just wanna show you the back side. Okay, so 6 more need to go into there, or total of 6 need to go in there. But I just want you to see really quick where the slip stitch we did, since there's more of a gap there, you can kind of see what I was talking about the threads showing through, and it's kind of messy, but this would be the back of it, so it doesn't show and it doesn't matter. But also take into consideration, when you finish these, you might want to finish them after the 6 treble crochets and then cut them off right here. No, that's too soon, but maybe after this one. Or I guess I could just show you. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly finish the 6 treble crochets into this stitch so I can show you the back side. Okay, so I finished the 6, and I just wanna show you, actually this is perfect, but when you do finish off these pieces, I would make sure that you trim them after the 6 treble crochets because there's more support. So I'll just do that right now. You could even do further on if you want, but just to show you. That way they're less likely to poke out like they would in here. This one's already starting to do that. So I guess overall, crocheting the loose ends isn't the best in a pattern where there's so many gaps. But like I said, I hate sewing in loose ends, so you might like it too if you don't mind some of them showing or popping out. But if you want something a little bit more secure, you can always just leave these ends out while you're working and then sew them in later. I would just take the yellow into the yellow areas and the blue into the blue areas. But that's it. Now you know how I change colors on a collar, and hopefully you found this helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. I'm here to help. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.